Hello and welcome. This video is going to be about finding balance between consuming and creating. I'll show you as I speak the time lapse of this piece of art that I made. And if you are interested, below you will find the coloring page of this art. So obviously, if you clicked on this video, you are consuming at the moment, and I hope by the end of the video you will feel inspired enough to put the screen down and start creating something. You might be one of these people that spend a lot of time scrolling and doesn't find so much satisfaction in it. And in fact, this was my case as well. I remember that I was scrolling a lot and that the time would just pass without me even noticing it. And it is satisfying in some ways to scroll and to see what people are doing in the world. It's very nice, but it's quite a weak kind of satisfaction. Doesn't last for a long time. So, for example, if yesterday I scrolled for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever, today I probably won't remember what it was about unless it was an intentional type of consumption. So this is what I want to speak about in this video, the intentional type of consumption, and I'll give you some tips for that. But especially I wanted to say in the introduction that if you are one of these people that consume a lot, you might actually enjoy vicariously the act of creativity that other people are doing. So this might mean that you are meant to be also creating, and you, for some reason, you have some blocks that don't allow you to express that part of you. For me, that was definitely the case, and things changed. But one thing that is important to notice is that this is not something that you will find balance and then you will keep the balance. Of course, like if you imagine yourself being on a piece of board and finding balance, you're gonna keep finding balance. That's a process, and I do not advise to delete social media, to be honest, because for me, social media, it gives me a lot. It really gives me a lot. It always did. I know it is controversial. It is not healthy for many people, but I find that my life really improved thanks to social media, because it put me in touch with what other people are making. And often I've met people through social media, and I'm very glad for that, because sometimes, unless you're living in a big city, you don't have so many opportunities to find like-minded people in your life. So what we say a lot about building community, human beings being meant to live in communities and to create some sort of a tribe situation type of thing. I find that social media allows us a little bit to build that, because even if we are not meeting all the time in person, that might work. It's beneficial to create a sense of community, to support each other, and so on. So I'm not the kind of person that will tell you to delete Instagram and YouTube from your phone. But for mindful consumption, what I can say is, for me, I either put a time limit, or I save the videos in YouTube, for example, on a watch later playlist. And the most important thing is, instead of depriving myself of a thing that I enjoy, which is scrolling, I do enjoy scrolling, instead of depriving myself, I will implement other habits in my life that will make me want to stop scrolling and start doing something else. So something that I enjoy. So first of all, if you are like me and tend to scroll a lot, maybe it could be because actually your brain needs a little bit of rest, which could be either from external stimuli, external information, which is bombarding us all the time, especially if we live in a city, and or also internal pressure to do something, or to hide something from yourself as well, because scrolling could be a way to escape from yourself, from things that you don't want to see. And so this is the first tip that I can give you, and it reminds me of when I used to smoke. So when I used to smoke, somebody told me something really true, which is, while smoking, as smokers, we can really take a break, which means that we can, if we are working, we are busy doing something, smoking a cigarette is really, really a break, because you stop doing anything else and you smoke a cigarette. Obviously, like at the moment I don't smoke anymore, I don't advise smoking, but the concept stayed with me, the concept of taking a break and not doing anything else but smoking, maybe chatting, but not doing anything else, just chilling outside, even in the rain, and breathing. So what I do nowadays, if I find that my brain needs a little bit of rest, I need to shut down for a moment, I do something similar to smoking, which is focusing on my breathing. It's very simple, and it's probably the most simple way of meditating and of being mindful that I found so far. So basically, I breathe deeply, and that's already really beneficial because it allows the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. So the rest and digest nervous system, part of the brain, it allows it to activate basically, and that will create a state of relaxation in your whole body, in your whole being. So just deep breathing does that, and that allows the brain to rest, to take this break from stimuli, internal and external stimuli. And as I do this, I like also to pretend I'm watching a movie in my head. So any thoughts, any worries, any concern, any idea, uh, any point in my to-do list that appears in my head, I observe it as if it was a show that I'm just an observer for, instead of being dragged with my emotions, along with my emotions, dragged by it. I just observe it, and then after a few breaths, I thank myself for showing me those thoughts, those worries, those ideas, those things that can be positive or negative or neutral. It depends. Um, but what is important is that I don't identify with them. I try to not identify with them. And the breathing really helps me doing that, because I think it's because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, or contributes to activates it a little bit more, If you have troubles finding stillness like that, because you feel a sense of nervousness coming up, a sense of something bubbling inside you, and it's very, very uncomfortable. If you have that, it might be that there is something that you need to look at, that is something that you need to process, that is trying to get your attention. So I know that a lot of people, I'm very close with some of them, a lot of people cannot stay still, cannot meditate, cannot focus on their breathing, because it makes them nervous, it makes them agitated and uncomfortable, and they don't do it. They end up not being able to do it. I had similar situations, similar moments, and I know that if you find the courage to stay with your discomfort, it will go away, and it will go away permanently. So, of course, there will be other types of discomfort in the future, but if you keep escaping from the discomfort and giving up on this mindfulness, then you're not going to be free from it ever. So, I just wanted to point out that. That is a very important part. If you want to start being more creative, to create more and consume less, it's very important that you look into where you feel discomfort inside you, and this focusing on the breathing. If there isn't discomfort in you, it will come up, and you will be able to unravel it and free yourself from it. So this is the first tip. If you need rest, if you're scrolling because you need rest, instead of scrolling, breathe. That's simple. Breathe and see what happens. See what your mind throws at you, like what kind of scenes, what kind of ideas, what kind of thoughts come up. And it might be that you will find something really inspiring, some really cool ideas to work on. Like, for example, I could, I don't know, I could paint that piece of furniture or something like that, If instead of scrolling you do this will actually save you a lot of time, because if you try it out, if you try this focus on the breathing, you won't need so much time until you find a little bit of a sense of re-energizing yourself. Whereas with scrolling, it's more likely that you will feel emptier and emptier inside as you keep scrolling. Another tip that I can give you is, that works for me, is to try your best to not be attached to the outcome. So if you're working as a creative, as an artist, and you're working on a commission, obviously you have to be attached to the outcome. That's the whole point of the commission. But if you are doing it for yourself, which I recommend, I mean, it's very satisfying to do it for yourself as well, even more sometimes. So if you're doing it for yourself, then try to drop the attachment. Notice if you have attachment, if you're judging yourself, if you're judging your creation, if it's good or bad. Try to notice that, and you can thank yourself for the judgment and let it go. You don't have to feel this attachment to it. If you feel this attachment, it might spoil your creative process, especially if you're trying to get your brain in a state of flow and of relaxation. So if you're trying to control the process, that's your more rational self that is trying to control things, and that goes really against a sense of play that is so important for these creative activities that can really restore our sense of self, our sense of stillness, our sense of peace, and satisfaction in general. Then another tip that I have for you is to activate your senses as much as you can. So here you will have to find out for yourself what kind of sense activation works for you the best. For me, what really works is something that I can touch and look at. So for example, I can show you here, I have all around my house, I have things spread around that I can enjoy touching and looking at. This is a little box where I have buttons. I love buttons. I know that some people have a phobia, so don't look if you are one of them. But let's see if we can focus. These are handmade buttons that I got in Stirling, Scotland. And here there are a lot of buttons that I just collected here and there. This is, I think, also handmade. It looks like made of clay. And there are also a lot of marbles. So this is all very sensorially pleasant things that I have. It's a full container of little colorful little things that are really nice to touch as well. So for me, this really works to stimulate my creativity because it inspires me. It helps me to be in the present moment as well, which is very nice. But also it gives me some ideas, some inspirations. It makes me want to work with color. So for me, the visual and the tactile senses are the ones that I stimulate the most. Obviously, you can work on other senses as well. I don't use music so much, but I know that a lot of people enjoy that, for example. So try to stimulate your senses instead of consuming a lot of content on social media, and see how it goes. For me, I find that it inspires me a lot. One important tip, maybe the most important tip of this video, is related to a breakthrough that I had recently in the past few months, and I made a whole video about it if you're interested. But it's important to notice how you speak to yourself. So the inner critic voice is not something that you should just let be and listen to. It's something that you should be curious about, be open about, and you should try to understand who is that, why is that, and how it got formed, and what you can do to face it. So I have a full video about how to deal with your inner critic in a way that is very effective, is not escaping from it, is facing it fully and feeling compassion towards it, because the inner critic is your internal protector. The inner critic wants to protect you from pain that you might get from the outside. So it is acquired kind of coping mechanism, or like defense mechanism, that we got during our early years of life. and it's caused by your life experiences. So it's very, very useful to explore it, to not be afraid of it, because it is a protector. It wants our greatest good. So you don't have to be afraid of it. You can speak to it. You can have a dialogue with it. So I'll link the video that I made down below, and I hope you will resonate with it if you have this inner critic voice. The inner critic sometimes could also be this negative kind of competition where you judge others as inferior than you. So I know that, like I'm close with some people that have this, that find it very hard to not feel a sense of injustice because others have things that maybe they don't deserve, that we would deserve and they don't deserve, or something like that, because they are inferior than us. I know that I spoke with some people that have this, and this is still is very similar to the inner critic voice, to the inner critic mechanism voice, and it's a defense thing. And so this video that I made, I hope it will help you if you have that as well. Is almost like a form of narcissism, but it depends on a weakness of the ego that wants to protect itself, basically. Anyway, this was the most important tip that I could give you, but obviously check the other video if you're interested. And then the last tip is also something that I find really fun and helpful, which is when you need something, an object, material, goods, when you need something, use it as an opportunity to be creative about how to get it. So, for example, you could make it. You could see if you can find it in alternative ways than purchasing it. It's a very nice creative exercise. And related to this point, I have a story actually for you. I don't know if I will tell you the whole story. I will tell you maybe the core message of the story, because I don't want this video to be too long. So it's about this girl that is very poor, is an orphan, and she doesn't have shoes. She lives in the forest and she forages her food. Sometimes she goes to the city to try to get some food or some things that she needs. And she started collecting pieces of fabric to make shoes for herself. And she collected a lot of different shades of red for her own shoes. And at the end, she managed to get enough material that she could craft her own shoes. And they were looking quite homemade. They were not looking great. They were really something that she loved, though. She loved her shoes and she was really proud of them. So this was an act of creativity for her. And one day she was walking outside of the forest, and one, how do you call it, like a chariot or of some sort came around. I don't remember the name in English, but one of these things with horses that in the past rich people used to travel with. I will write it below here, sorry. I should have prepared this better. Anyway, there was a rich lady inside who stopped and offered her to adopt her, offered the child to adopt her and to make her daughter. And the child was very tempted, so she accepted. And from that moment on, the child had everything she wanted in terms of material goods. So her shoes got chucked away straight away, immediately, with all her clothes, because they were stinky, they were dirty, they were old, and the rich lady couldn't stand to see all that. So she chucked it. She chucked all of it away. And the little girl started having to follow rules in her life, really strict rules. She couldn't run, she couldn't scream, she couldn't play in certain ways. So she lost her freedom, basically, by trading it for physical comfort and for luxuries. And long story short, this is a wonderful fairy tale. It's very tragic. It ends really bad. And I don't want to tell you the whole story, but I think the introduction was very important, because the fact that she traded in her creative and free life for physical comfort and for the immediate the ability of getting immediately what she needed in terms of physical comforts. She traded that, and at the end, she paid for it big time. Yeah, so I really resonated with that story because I know how it feels. It's just so easy to move our focus from creativity to something that we think we should want, like in the case of the little girl, a life of luxury and a life of comfort. But giving away our creativity is the worst thing we can do to ourselves. And even if we have then all the money in the world, all the clothes in the world, that's not the same level of satisfaction. I don't know if you can resonate with that, but for me, it is really like that. So I want to be the kind of person that finds little pieces of fabric around and builds her own shoes, if you know what I mean. And this is what I wanted to communicate to you in this last point of the video, which is use your creativity when you need something instead of just buying it. Try this exercise next time you need something, or you can think, I'm sure right now, of something you think you need. Try to think how you can create it for yourself, or how you can have it in an alternative way. So for example, even in the last video, I showed you my bedside table lamp. And that lamp was made with a bottle that I found in a forest, actually, because I was doing some mud lurking with a friend, and I found this old beer bottle from last century. And then for the top, I found this star-shaped thing. I found these star-shaped things with glass, and it was a little broken, so people were going to chuck it. And I covered it with some illustrations, and that is my new lamp now. And the mechanism, I did buy the mechanism, but the mechanism itself was only 10 euros online. And the lamp, I mean, I couldn't love that lamp so much if I just bought it, you know. I made my own lamp, and there's the satisfaction of using it every day because I see it and I made it and I feel so grateful for it. For this video, this is everything I wanted to say, and I also wanted to thank you for all the beautiful comments in the last video. I'm so glad you liked it. And I will post in the future more interesting techniques, art therapy style techniques to help you relax your mind and create a more positive reality for yourself through art and creativity, which is very much needed in this time. we need to be we need to feel inspired, to feel calm, to not feel so much fear for everything that is happening in the world, to feel like there is still beauty around us, and there is still the possibility to enjoy our life and to feel safe. We need to feel like that in this moment. Okay, so I'll leave you with this, and if you have any comment, please write down below. I love to hear what you have to say. And I hope this was useful. Have a lovely day. See you in the next video.